You were today years old when you found this out. If you're trying to get a splinter out and nothing's working, you can use glue to get it out. You can light birthday candles with spaghetti if it's too hot. You can use dental floss to slice perfect slices of cheese. While going on a trip, pack a couple clothespins to protect your toothbrush from touching a dirty counter. You can relieve the itchiness of a mosquito bite by putting a dab of clear nail polish on it.
Here are some crazy ocean facts that will blow your mind and will make you question whether you're ever gonna fucking go back in there. For starters, the discovery of monstrosities like this. The colossal squid. It don't look too bad there, Matt. Well, let me tell you that this measures the length of a school bus. This little guy is called a bearded fireworm. Don't be fooled by his cuteness. The sting from this little shit is so painful it makes you feel like your body is on fire. While you're in the water, my brain! What kind of creation is that? Nature! You good? There is enough gold in the ocean for every single person on Earth to have 9 pounds of it. I can get my golden toilet. It is estimated that 2/3 of marine life is still to be discovered. With shit like the basking shark existing, what is down there? I'm uncomfortable. Everyone knows about the box jellyfish. You know, the thing that can make you go bye-bye in 2 minutes? Well, because of global warming, they're expected to appear in every beach all around the world. If you didn't know any of these, you have to share. Elon!
Disturbing facts you didn't need to know. Did you know that sometimes doctors use teeth of dead people to make dentures? And talking about teeth, there's a fish in South America that has human teeth. And for some reason, it looks so creepy. If you ever see this cute frog, run away as fast as possible. Because it's called the golden poison frog, and it has enough poison to kill 15 humans in a few minutes. Now, we all know a chainsaw is used to cut wood, right? But did you know it was invented to assist childbirth? And finally, there are still around 40 million slaves around the world, with India having the majority of them at 8 million, mostly kids.
Albert Einstein was offered the presidency of Israel in 1952, but he declined. Weird history facts. No one knew about the last one. Queen Elizabeth I was so obsessed with sugar, her teeth started to rot while she was still alive. You can now check if a spyware has infected your phone. To find out, just click on Share, slide to the right, and then select More. If you see an unknown app, delete it immediately. The first orange wasn't orange, but green, so why is it called an orange? In ancient Rome, the practice of using urine as a teeth whitener was common due to its ammonia content, which acted as a natural bleaching agent. Now you can check if your phone is real or fake by commenting KSOS with only small letters. If TikTok gives you a warning, your phone is real. Comment if you get a warning. In ancient Egypt, servants were smeared with honey to attract flies away from the pharaoh. Before the last fact, follow us to get smarter. The ancient Egyptians used crocodile dung as both a contraceptive and a form of vaginal suppository.
Further that you look into dark history, you start to realize just how dark it really is. This woman behind me, this is Lorene Wallace. She was the first female governor of Alabama, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cervical cancer. Dark history for Lorene was that, legally, doctors did not have to tell her. They only told her husband. Really let that sink in. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, terminal cancer, and only her husband was told. Her husband decided not to tell her. Legally, he didn't have to. It was thought at the time that women's nerves were too fragile to be able to handle news like this, so only their husbands were told. I think we're probably going to cover this on the podcast because this is actually a pretty in-depth story if you want to listen. Basically, the way this story ends is that Lorene, she does become governor. She runs, but she only lives through the first year of her term. She was never initially told she was dying.
So, I learned something today and I desperately need y'all to see this. I was today years old when I found out sea anemone can actually move. Yes, the same thing Nemo lived in and the same thing SpongeBob accidentally watched while trying to find a sports channel. I know I'm going to get that one comment, so I'm just going to say it. Sea anemone aren't plants, they're animals and they're actually related to jellyfish. They're predators that feed on plankton, shrimp, and even small fish. They hunt by acting innocent and lulling their victim into a false sense of security before they snatch their soul and never let go. Basically, get out with more water. Most anemone have stinging tentacles that can clap fish, and some like the Delphinium over here could cause severe pain in humans for months. The reason this one didn't cause a family reunion in the afterlife is because clownfish are covered in mucus that protects them from the sting. Also, clownfish poop provides nutrients for the anemone, so he basically lets them rock. But like, I knew all that, but I didn't know they could move. You can find this video on YouTube, or if you're SpongeBob, on C-Hub. Man said popcorn, but hold the opsy. What a savage.
Here are some things that you've been using wrong your whole life. Number 1, the top of your soda can, which is supposed to be a straw holder. You just have to turn it around and put your straw in the first hole. Okay, second one, I kind of feel like a disgrace to my people because I did not know this. We've all seen Chinese takeout boxes, right? But did you know that you're supposed to unfold them so they become disposable plates? Literally, it makes everything so much easier. But the next one really blew my mind. This is how you're supposed to peel an orange. You just cut the top and the bottom and one slice in the middle, and then it just unwraps perfectly. My mind is honestly blown by this. And now for the last one. If you've ever spilt your cereal, milk, or juice everywhere, that's because you're supposed to hold the carton upside down. This way, not as much liquid pours out all at once, and you won't spill. Let me know if you guys would be interested in a part 2 because there's so many of these life hacks out there.
Okay, so we have a Madeleine McCann update. Trust me, favorite this video right now so you can stay up to date with this story because this is insane! There's a lot to get through, so let's do it. Firstly, her family did actually release a statement in the end, essentially saying that they're really disappointed by this whole situation. And they also claim that photos of her when she was younger do actually exist, along with a birth certificate and hospital discharges. But apparently she took them before all of this started. As well, the family is saying that she doesn't take her medicine regularly and that she always wanted to be famous, being a model and a singer, and that now she has over 1 million followers, she's gotten what she wanted, and that they do not want her to do the DNA test. Then a few days later, this came out on her actual Instagram story, because she did actually end up doing the DNA test, that she has big news and that there's lots to reveal. But not only are they looking to see if she's Madeleine McCann, but also testing her DNA to see if she is the missing twin, Livia. This is mad. Yo, Elon!
Animal facts that will make you sound smarter. The immortal jellyfish has a life cheat code that lets it Benjamin Button itself when times get tough, making it basically, well, immortal. On the opposite side, the mayfly is born with an expiration date of less than 24 hours. Every time the Earth does a 360, an entire generation gets Thanos. There was a shark that put entire nuclear submarines out of commission. And out of all the sharks that could have done it, it was the cookie cutter named after the holes they leave in dolphins, whales, and nuclear warships. The Arctic tern travels from north to south and back to the North Pole every year. In their lives, they'll travel the same distance as 3 round trips to the moon. They also experience 2 summers every year. Sharks can survive massive amounts of radiation, so instead of getting skin cancer, they just get suntanned. Not only are they cancer-proof, they're basically resistant to every disease known to man. Can't say the same about cheetahs because not only do they have one of the weakest immune systems, they're severely inbred, so they're really one pandemic away from getting straight up deleted. Zebras have the N-word pass because their skin's actually black. However, if you shave a tiger, its skin would still be striped. Goldfish can actually memorize things for 5 months. You probably know that parrots can talk, but elephants can be taught to mimic human speech, and one actually learned 5 words in Korean.
These are scary facts about popular childhood movies, part 1. Up first, Claire Blandick, who played Auntie M in The Wizard of Oz, suffered from arthritis that was so painful that she committed suicide at the age of 85. She did her hair and makeup one final time and put on a nice dress before overdosing on sleeping pills. She then left a note that said, "I am now about to make the great adventure. I cannot endure this agonizing pain any longer. It's all over my body. I pray the Lord my soul to take. Amen." Next up, in the movie The Adventures of Milo and Otis, it's been reported that upwards of 20 cats were killed during the filming of the movie. There's a lot of speculation behind this because the film somehow got the approval of the American Humane Society, despite not having their officers present during filming.
This is Robert the doll, one of the most haunted dolls on the planet. So continuing the story from my last TikTok, the family actually locked Robert in the attic of the house because they were so afraid of him because he was moving and doing creepy shit. Didn't stop him. Apparently in the attic he would move stuff around, bang on walls, and frighten the family. And kids walking by the neighborhood passing this is their house, would see Robert sitting right up here in the window staring at them. People think that Robert was haunted because the person that gave it to Jean, this guy right here, put some black magic or voodoo curse on the doll. When Jean died, a new family moved into the house and a daughter in the family was delighted to find Robert in the attic, but she claimed that Robert attacked her. And eventually, because Robert was too scary to keep in the home, he was donated to a museum. You're not supposed to take photos of Robert, and people have supposedly taken photos of him and been cursed. And people who work at the museum have supposedly seen Robert moving around in his case and even tapping on the windows and finding scratches inside of the case. What do you think? Would you visit Robert? I want to go and take a picture and see what happens, but he seems pretty chill.
Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nice old lady told a CNA that she wanted to wear all white. When asked why, she said the man in black is here. She looked in the corner of the room. The CNA looked, but there was no one there. That's when the nurse came into the room. They asked her to describe what she was seeing, and she said he's in all black, and he's got a top hat on. And then she whispered, and his eyes are red, while her eyes moved across the room to directly behind the CNA, like she was watching him move closer to them. She died later that night, but it was unexpected. That room creeped the nurse and the CNA out for a long time after that.
A family was camping in California when their son began to say something very creepy.
A family vacation that took a strange turn. They visited the same area where a missing woman was last seen.
He said that there was a woman staring at him in the field nearby.
Got goosebumps. He says she needs our help, but she's dead. And she's laying face down with her legs up. She can't talk to me, but she's over there. We need to go help her.
Creeped out by this, both of his parents went to go check the surrounding area, but found nothing.
They said she has a black shirt, blue jeans, and blue hair, Mom. He kept saying, trust me, Mom.
After arriving home, Victoria posts about the experience to Facebook. And not long after she does so, the police came knocking at her door with photos of a woman named Sandra Johnson Hughes. She had gone missing in the exact same location 1 year prior. Authorities would then proceed to exhaust their efforts, searching the area over the next few days. Sadly, they would find nothing. If what this little boy was saying was true, experts believe that any evidence of her remains would be long gone by now. Could Caden have actually seen the ghost of this woman, or is his description merely a coincidence? What do you believe?
With a black shirt and blue hair.
He describes down to blue hair. Said she has a black shirt, blue jeans, and blue hair, Mom.
Hayden was able to identify 3 out of 4 pictures of her. Detectives went back to the meadow with the Gorba family to investigate, but the case remains open.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all of these on Reddit. The Conjuring is one of the most influential horror movies of all time and actually helped pave the way for a lot of other movies that were to come along in the future. But there was a lot of dark stuff that went on behind the scenes. After they had finished their first day of filming, actress Vera Farmiga had noticed something very off. She had 3 very large claw marks on her body, much larger than any human could have possibly done. And when she was asked about it, she said, "There's no way that I could have left this and not known." And this further adds on to the urban legend of this movie actually being cursed. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the best known horror movies ever, but there's so much more behind this movie that I didn't tell you. Like the fact that the farm that this movie was filmed on actually had around 500 animal corpses underneath it. And where there's corpses, there's going to be a stench. And it got to be so unbearable that it got to the point that whenever the director would yell cut between takes, whether it was an actor, whether it was someone that was working on the crew, would have to sprint off screen and go vomit. And finally, this is one place on Earth you cannot visit. But before I get into that, you guys, I delve into a lot of darker things, so if you want something a little more positive, make sure you go peep my bio. You won't regret it. North Sentinel Island is an island off the coast of India. This place is widely known as one of the places on Earth you cannot visit. This is because the Northern Sentinelese people who live there have become very aggressive to all visitors. They've also had very limited contact with modern civilization as we know it. Even when boats are going by, these people are known to throw spears and shoot bows and arrows at them. But there's a reason behind this. The people of the northern Sentinel Island were brutalized and abused by colonizers years ago, and this caused them to be very shut off from the rest of the world and be very aggressive towards visitors. And if we're being real, if that happened to you, you would do the same thing. And look, I know these were pretty dark even for me, but that's why.
Ellen Greenberg, pictured behind me, had over 20 stab wounds, but they classified it as suicide. Let's talk about why that is not the case. On January 26, 2011, there was a blizzard happening in Philadelphia. She worked there and wanted to go home, so she left her workplace. At 6:40 p.m. that same day, she was stabbed 20 times. 10 of those times were in the back of her neck and in her back. She also had 11 bruises on her right arm, her legs, and her abdomen. Now, despite these findings that the wounds were on her back and she had bruises all over her, the Philadelphia police classified this as a suicide. Now, the Philadelphia police and the homicide investigators said this was a suspicious case, and then they closed it and ruled it a suicide. So, in my opinion, I think a cover-up is going on here. Maybe someone powerful decided to pull a hit on her, or maybe one of the investigators or the Philadelphia police themselves were in on this. There's just no way this is a suicide. 20 stab wounds with 10 to the back of your neck and back, there's no possible way. And the bruising, like, come on, obviously there was a struggle, obviously there was some blunt force trauma. Ellen Greenberg's case needs to be reopened and reevaluated. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. Baby chicks, while very sweet, are often grinded up. In many large factories, if they're baby roosters, they're just tossed into a grinder. Pretty gross. Did you know that in the United States alone, every year, around 2,500 people die from using right-handed equipment that were originally left-handed? Sucks to be left-handed. George Bush Sr. was the only man to survive after his plane was shot down in World War II by Japanese soldiers. Out of the 9 men that were cannibalized and eaten on by Japanese soldiers, Bush was somehow the only one to survive. Hopefully you like boogers, because Inuit mothers actually suck the snot out of their baby's nose. Nasty. Did you know there's actually 200 corpses right now on Mount Everest? Due to the body's elevation, they're actually left up there and perfectly preserved to the extreme climate and temperatures. They're used as guide points for climbers and hikers. Comment and let me know which fact disturbed you the most.
This is the truth about the 4 ghosts in Pac-Man. Okay, so the 4 ghosts in Pac-Man are actually programmed to act differently. The red ghost chases you the entire game and doesn't stop following you. The pink one just tries to position itself in a set way to block you off, so that the other 3 ghosts can catch you. Next up, the blue one just tries to ambush you in every single way it can, and is definitely the most aggressive one out of the 4. And next up, the orange one is random. It could either chase you the entire game, ambush you, or just sit in one spot and position itself. So, next time you play Pac-Man, keep this video in mind.
Let's talk about a disturbing upcoming horror game where you have to get rid of a princess instead of save her. Slay the Princess. And this one looks horrifying. Just like the title says, this is a narrative-based game where you have to slay a princess. And of course, this is not an ordinary princess. She's hiding a very dangerous and dark secret. Just make sure you don't listen to her when she tries to convince you not to get rid of her. The game promises to have many different branching paths involving the princess turning into all sorts of different horrific things. Will you save her just to see what happens, or will you wait around and see what her true form is? There's a free demo of the game out right now on Steam, and this is easily looking like one of 2023's coolest horror games. And of course, I'll be covering it when it releases.
This is a story that shows you how real death can be. In Islam, when a baby is born, God gives the baby a name, a written life story, and a date of death. And on the day of death, nothing and no one will stop the angel of death. This is a story of a Lebanese family, a mother and her teenage son. The son and his friends plan a trip after their high school graduation to celebrate. They were planning to fly to another country. He told his mom about this plan, but she was very scared for him. He was her only son, She felt like he was still too young to travel on his own with his friends. She begged him for weeks. She begged him not to go, but he insisted. The night before his morning trip, the son packs his bags and is ready to meet his friends at the airport the next morning. The alarm doesn't usually wake this boy up. He always relies on his mom to wake him up. So he asked her to wake him up at a certain time before the flight. The mother's heart had a wrong feeling about this. She decided not to wake him up. She wanted him to be late and miss this flight. His friends gave up waiting for him, and they eventually took that flight. The plane crashes only minutes after takeoff from a technical failure. She immediately sees the news that the plane her son was meant to take crashes, and there are no survivors. She finally runs to his room to wake him up and show him the news. But her son was already dead. He had a stroke in bed the same morning. Whether he took that flight or not, he was meant to die on this day. One piece of advice: when your mother has a wrong feeling about something, listen to her.
10 facts you didn't know that could save your life. If your house ever smells like fish for no reason, 9 times out of 10, it's because there's an electrical fire. If you're in a foreign country and you need to call for help, but you don't know the emergency number, call 112 and it'll automatically connect you to the nearest helpline. If a tornado looks like it's not moving, it's actually moving towards you. If you ever wake up to the smell of gas, don't turn on a light. The spark from the light switch could blow up your entire house. Lying flat on your back is the best way to survive a falling elevator. If your hair ever stands up, duck and cover because you're about to be struck by lightning. If you ever fall off the edge onto the tracks, don't try and crawl back up. There's a crawl space built to go underneath in case this happens. If a deer runs across the road, it's better to hit it than swerve into the ditch. But if it's a moose, then it's better to swerve into the ditch, because hitting a moose is like hitting a brick wall. Even if you have no service, you can still dial 911. In an emergency, your phone will connect to the nearest tower. If you ever get kidnapped into the back of a vehicle, disconnect the brake light wires so the cops will pull them over. Then kick on the door to let them know that you're there.